Welcome to a new YouTube channel, ThePickyGamer, where I pick apart each minute detail in a video game in each review series. In each episode, I will walk through what I like or don't like about one small part of the game, such as a level or dungeon, and why I think so. Of course, all of this is purely my own opinion, so feel free to leave your opinions in the comments. Without further ado, let's start the first episode of my review series on The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword is a very divisive game, to say the least. I've heard some call it an abomination, and I've heard others call it the best video game of all time. The last time I really played this game was when I was 12 or 13, and I remember being completely blown away by it. Before Skyward Sword, I'd never really played any action-adventure games. So this game was introducing me to the entire genre. Today, I've played a lot of action-adventure games, including almost all of the Legend of Zelda series. But will it still impress me the way it did 3 years ago? Let's find out. The opening title screen begins with an odd voice telling you the lore of this game. As the curtain opens, illustrations resembling cave drawings magically appear on this rocky canvas, and a live orchestra begins to play a piece titled The Legend of Skyloft as the narrator fills us in on how Skyloft came to be. We are told that an evil army poured out from a crack in the earth and started bringing chaos to the land in desire for an ultimate power owned by the goddess to grant any wish. The goddess took all the humans and placed them on a hunk of earth that she then sends up to the sky above. With this being done, she teamed up with everyone else on land and sealed the bad guys away, restoring peace. We are then told that there is another legend, a legend that will be forged by our own hand. This opening gives me a more Link to the Past or Wind Waker vibe, where we are told the lore of what happened before the events of the game actually take place. It gives context for why the overworld exists, and establishes necessary knowledge in order to fully appreciate the game's story. It's also important to note that Skyward Sword is the first installment chronologically in the entire series, so not only does this intro give context for the game, but also for every other Zelda game. Whenever I watch a theory about The Legend of Zelda, this intro usually shares as much prominence as the cutscene in Ocarina of Time where the three goddesses create Hyrule. I really like the cave paintings here. Yes, it would be awesome to see a full CGI cutscene with all the action, but this way the illustrations give you the vaguest of ideas, along with the text and music, of what this would look like, and your mind is left to fill in the gaps with your imagination, which I feel gives this intro a lot more wonder to it. Once you start the game, a cutscene starts where what I can only describe as an evil Pac-Man emerges out of a crack in the earth, making a dark aura appear around it, and making your Wii Remote freak out if you left the Rumble feature on. After the game reminds you that you're playing a 5-year-old game that is still the most recent console Zelda, it shows some large birds flying over to the hunk of rock described in the intro, and you see how it has taken shape. Skyloft is now its own little city in the sky, full of green grass, colorful buildings, and a lot of festive flags, I must say. The birds then foil 3 men's attempts at suicide, and we are taken off to see Zelda singing a song in some Skyloftian language. Even though there's no voice acting for the majority of the game, I love how they had the song presented in this way. Her voice actress's voice is absolutely beautiful. You know what else is beautiful? This music. It really just creates this air of excitement to start this game and go on an adventure! Zelda then gives the oversized bird a letter to carry with its beak, and the bird flies off. The next cutscene shows Link appear in this dark void, with evil Pac-Man appearing soon after. The area is then shined with a purple light, and the same voice from the intro tells Link that the time has come for him to awaken, and that he is fated to have a hand in a great destiny. Link then lingers between awake and asleep for a while as the screaming of evil Pac-Man translates into the screeching of the big bird trying to wake Link up. Link is then shown to have fallen out of bed, and just kind of has a staring contest with the bird for a few seconds, until the bird just spits the letter at Link's face and leaves. I legitimately laughed at this part because of the way it was presented, but then again, it doesn't take much to make me laugh. At the very least, this scene creates a bit of levity after all of the establishing story. The letter is from Zelda, and she reminds Link that today is the wing ceremony, and that she wants to meet him before it starts. I love how emotive Link's face is in this game. Just with a short sigh and a tilted head, it shows what Link is thinking better than any Legend of Zelda game has done before, and it was really important for Nintendo to get this right, as there's no dialogue from Link for him to communicate to the player. Before you go outside, you do have the option to do a short side quest for Fledge. He tells you that he'd love to cheer you on in the wing ceremony, since he isn't qualified to be in it himself, but that he can't make it because he's too busy carrying barrels. Fledge obviously is having trouble completing this task, so you can opt to do his chores for him, carrying the barrel to an elderly lady who lauds you for your efforts. The only challenge here whatsoever is pressing A to put the barrel down halfway through in order to refill your stamina. Once the task is complete, you can report back to Fledge, who will thank you with half his pay, 20 rupees. There's really not much to the side quest, and it's purely optional, so the only reason to do it would be for the 20 rupees, which, I'll admit, is fairly decent for this early in the game. But, anyway. Now we can go outside, but first, there's something very important I've got to do. After being shown an overview of Skyloft, Instructor Horwell will live up to his title by instructing you how to Z-target, dash, and auto-jump in order to make your way up to him. From here, you can choose to skip everything else and go straight to Zelda up at the statue of the goddess, as there's no reward for talking to either character. If not, you can speak to Instructor Horwell again, and he will ask you to retrieve his cat for him. This will have you climbing across a ledge, up some vines, pushing a box up to a wall, and then jumping up said wall to bring the cat back to Instructor Horwell. The entire thing, while short, feels incredibly tedious, especially with Instructor Horwell butting in every few seconds to tell you how to do what, so I'd suggest this part only if you're unfamiliar with classic Zelda mechanics. You can also talk to Jackamar by the gate, who will explain saving. In context with the story, saving is referred to as praying, a nice touch to reduce fourth wall breaking for the sake of a tutorial to as little as possible. Saving is reminiscent of how saving worked in Majora's Mask, specifically Majora's Mask 3D, as the saves are permanent. However, unlike Majora's Mask, the save statues are dispersed in such a way that you're seldom further than 2 to 3 minutes from one at any given time, making it convenient to stop and resume quickly. The next cutscene begins with Zelda singing another song while she plays on her harp. Zelda tells Link that she got her harp and costume to play the role of the goddess in today's wing ceremony. Between the dialogue, beautiful music, and emotions shown on both characters' faces, it's clear that there's a slight romance between the two, and I think it's really sweet how it's presented to the player. Zelda asks you what you think of her costume, and you're given the option to be nice and compliment her, or poke fun at her. It makes no difference what you say, except for the dialogue, and I personally don't really see the point of these text option things, or whatever you call them, but at least it allows for a little bit of more interactivity with the game's story, taking more advantage of the medium. Zelda's father, Gaipora, walks in on Link and Zelda's romantic moment, and reminds Link that if he wins in the ceremony, he'll get to be in the post-race ritual with Zelda. Zelda then expresses her concern for Link due to his recent laziness regarding practicing, which embarrasses Link quite a bit. Gaipora does admit that others have been practicing more than Link, but reminds Zelda of the strong bond between Link and his Loftwing, citing the first time where they met. Link stares blissfully at the sky, but seems perturbed by something. Zelda continues to quarrel with her father about her worry that Link might not win, unappeased by his attempts to pacify her doubt. She then takes Link by the arm and forces him toward the wooden platform in order to get in some last-minute practice. This entire scene really shows that although Zelda is fond of Link, she's constantly pushing him, fearing that he might not ever reach his full potential. Link attempts to tell Zelda that he can't sense his bird's presence, but Zelda believes he's just trying to weasel out of practice and pushes him off the platform, despite his protest. After a few moments of nothing happening, Zelda senses that something is wrong, and calls her Loftwing to save Link. Zelda's father notes how odd it is that Link's bird hasn't appeared, and that this is especially troubling because the wing ceremony is about to start. Zelda apologizes to Link for not listening to him, and her father says that he will talk to Instructor Horwell about delaying the ceremony, being the headmaster of the academy, urging Link to go look for his bird. This gives us a good reason to now explore the overworld in search of our bird, which is what we will be doing on the next episode. The opening title to Skyward Sword tells us some genuinely interesting lore about the ancient war and the mysterious goddess. The game starts with a story that I'd argue is the most engaging in the series, focusing on Link and Zelda as simple childhood friends with simple goals and problems. However, gameplay really takes a back seat in this first section, with the majority being just cutscenes. Although some might find it tedious for those who don't care too much about story in a video game, I find this first section to really invest me in the characters for Link and Zelda, and I want to see how these two characters grow as time goes on. To me, this wasn't really the start of the game. This was the prologue, a part where we learn all the exposition and the simplest of tutorials, and it certainly accomplished that. But what do you think? Do you think the intro went on too long? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to see more episodes of this review series, hit that subscribe button. Alright, bye.